The medical bay of the galactic research vessel Harmony buzzed with activity as Dr. Zexthera examined the latest batch of samples from the recently discovered human homeworld. The insectoid scientist's compound eyes gleamed with scientific curiosity as she processed the chemical composition of various human consumables through her specialized equipment. Fascinating, she clicked to her research partner, Dr. Velnox, whose serpentine form coiled around the central analysis station. These humans appear to have the most bizarre dietary habits I've ever encountered. Dr. Velnox's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air around the sealed samples. His scaled head tilted in confusion as he reviewed the data streaming across his display. I don't understand it either, Zexthera. Look at this compound they call capsaicin. According to our analysis, it should cause severe pain, tissue damage, and, potentially death to any sentient being. The insectoid researcher's antennae twitched nervously as she pulled up more data files. And, this substance called alcohol, it's literally a poison that damages cellular structure and impairs cognitive function. Yet according to their cultural databases, humans deliberately consume this for something they call enjoyment. Perhaps we're misunderstanding something, Dr. Velnox suggested, though his tone carried doubt. His reputation as one of the galaxy's foremost xenobiologists made him naturally cautious about drawing conclusions too quickly. Maybe these substances serve some other purpose we haven't identified. Dr. Zexthera's forearms worked simultaneously across multiple interfaces, pulling up comparative analysis charts that filled the holographic displays around them. I've cross-referenced with every known species in the galactic database. No other sentient race deliberately consumes substances that cause them pain or cellular damage. The two scientists had been working together for over a standard galactic year, ever since the discovery of Earth had sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Humans represented the first new spacefaring species encountered in nearly 3 centuries, and their biology proved to be utterly perplexing to established galactic science. Show me the pain response data again, Dr. Velnox requested, his elongated neck stretching to get a better view of the display. His species, the Nagas of Serpentis Prime, were particularly sensitive to chemical irritants, making the human data even more incomprehensible to him. Dr. Zexthera manipulated the holographic interface with practiced efficiency. When humans consume capsaicin, their bodies react with increased heart rate, perspiration, and clear indicators of pain. The compound binds to their vanilloid receptors and triggers intense burning sensations. Yet they continue eating it. Some even seek out higher concentrations of the substance. And the alcohol? Even more disturbing. It literally kills their brain cells, impairs their motor functions, and can cause permanent organ damage. Some humans consume enough to render themselves unconscious or violently ill. When they recover, many of them do it again. Dr. Velnox's scales rippled with unease. His species had evolved on a world where even mildly toxic substances could prove fatal, making their survival instincts particularly acute when it came to chemical hazards. Could they be using these substances as some form of slow-acting suicide ritual? Perhaps their culture has developed death-seeking behaviors? That was my initial hypothesis, Dr. Zexthera replied, her compound eyes reflecting the blue glow of the data streams. But their cultural analysis suggests otherwise. They associate these activities with celebration, social bonding, and pleasure. It makes no logical sense from any biological perspective we understand. The research facility around them hummed with the quiet efficiency of advanced technology. The Harmony represented the pinnacle of galactic scientific achievement, equipped with analysis capabilities that could break down matter to the molecular level and cross-reference biological data from thousands of species across the galaxy. Yet these human consumption patterns defied every established principle of evolutionary biology. Perhaps we should examine their evolutionary history more closely, Dr. Velnox suggested, his coils shifting as he accessed the cultural databases. Sometimes understanding a species' development can explain seemingly irrational behaviors. Dr. Zexthera's mandibles clicked in agreement as she pulled up the relevant files. According to their own historical records, humans evolved as omnivorous hunters on a world they call Earth. The planet appears to be unusually hostile by galactic standards: extreme weather variations, dangerous predators, toxic plant life, and frequent natural disasters. That might explain their unusual resilience, Dr. Velnox mused. But, it doesn't explain why they would deliberately seek out painful or harmful experiences. Wait. Dr. Zexthera's antennae suddenly stood erect as she noticed something in the data. Look at this. The capsaicin compound, it's actually produced by plants on their homeworld as a defense mechanism. The plants evolved this chemical specifically to prevent creatures from eating their seeds. So the humans are consuming a biological warfare agent? It appears so. And, look here, alcohol is produced by the fermentation of organic matter. It's essentially a byproduct of bacterial decomposition that most species would instinctively avoid. Dr. Velnox's serpentine form went completely still, a sign of deep concentration among his people. Zexthera, what if we're approaching this from the wrong angle? What if these humans haven't developed death-seeking behaviors? What if they've evolved something else entirely? What do you mean? Think about it. They live on a world that's constantly trying to kill them. They've not only survived but thrived to the point of developing space travel. What if their consumption of these substances isn't self-destructive? What if it's training? Dr. Zexthera's compound eyes widened as the implications began to sink in. You're suggesting they deliberately expose themselves to harmful substances to build tolerance? More than that. I'm suggesting they might have evolved the ability to derive actual benefits from substances that would kill or incapacitate other species. Look at their physical capabilities compared to the galactic average. Dr. Zexthera quickly pulled up the comparative physiology data. The numbers that appeared made both scientists freeze in stunned silence. Humans demonstrated muscle density nearly 3 times galactic average, bone strength that rivaled some crystalline species, and recovery rates that defied established biological principles. This can't be right, Dr. Zexthera whispered, her voice barely audible above the equipment's humming. Run the calculations again, Dr. Velnox urged, though his tone suggested he already believed the results. The second analysis confirmed their readings. Humans possessed physical capabilities that placed them far beyond what should be possible for their size and apparent technology level. More disturbing still, their neurological scans showed brain activity patterns that indicated they could function effectively even while under the influence of substances that would render most species catatonic. Dr. Velnox, Dr. Zexthera's voice carried a tremor of fear. If these readings are accurate, humans aren't just consuming poison for pleasure. They're consuming poison because they can. Because they've evolved to not just survive it, but to actually benefit from it. The alcohol data shows increased social bonding and reduced inhibitions. The capsaicin triggers endorphin release that exceeds their baseline happiness levels. They're not harming themselves, they're enhancing themselves with substances that would kill us. The implications hit both scientists like a physical blow. They had been studying what they assumed was a curious but ultimately harmless species with bizarre dietary habits. Instead, they had discovered a race of beings so perfectly adapted to their hostile environment that they had evolved to derive benefits from biological warfare agents. We need to contact the Galactic Council immediately, Dr. Zexthera said, her forearms working frantically to compile their findings. Wait, Dr. Velnox interjected. Before we alert anyone, we need to understand what this means. If humans can consume deadly toxins for pleasure and benefit, what else might they be capable of? Dr. Zexthera paused in her data compilation, a chill running through her exoskeleton. You think there's more? I think we've only scratched the surface. Look at their historical records again. Pay attention to their conflicts and survival stories. The cultural database revealed information that made both scientists wish they had never begun this research. Human history was filled with accounts of individuals surviving in conditions that should have been fatal. Stories of humans fighting off predators barehanded, surviving in Arctic conditions without proper equipment, enduring injuries that would kill most galactic species, and continuing to function effectively under stress levels that would cause complete psychological breakdown in other races. Zexthera, Dr. Velnox's voice was barely a whisper. We haven't discovered a species with unusual dietary habits. We've discovered a species of apex predators who are so perfectly evolved for survival that they treat deadly poison as recreational substances. And they're about to join the galactic community, Dr. Zexthera added, her compound eyes reflecting the glow of the warning lights that had begun flashing throughout the medical bay. As if summoned by their growing dread, an alert chimed through the ship's communication system. The calm voice of the ship's AI announced, "Attention all research personnel. The human delegation has arrived ahead of schedule. They will be boarding the Harmony in approximately 2 standard hours for cultural exchange and diplomatic discussions." Dr. Zexthera and Dr. Velnox looked at each other in stunned silence. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear the excited chatter of other researchers preparing to meet their first humans in person. None of them knew what the two xenobiologists had just discovered. "We have 2 hours to decide what to do with this information," Dr. Velnox said quietly. "What if we're wrong?" Dr. Zexthera asked hopefully. "What if there's another explanation? Then, we'll apologize and delete our reports." "But, if we're right?" Dr. Velnox's voice trailed off as he contemplated the possibilities. "If we're right, then, we're about to meet representatives of a species that has evolved beyond anything else in the galaxy. A species that treats biological warfare as entertainment and has survived on a world that would kill most of us within hours." The two scientists returned to their analysis, working with desperate efficiency to understand as much as possible before the human delegation arrived. Neither wanted to believe their conclusions, but the data didn't lie. Humanity represented something unprecedented in galactic history. And they were coming aboard. Captain Saracen stepped through the airlock of the galactic research vessel Harmony with the confidence of someone who had spent her entire adult life exploring unknown territories. Behind her, the 3-person human delegation carried themselves with the casual alertness that had become second nature to their species. None of them realized they were being watched with the same intensity usually reserved for studying dangerous predators. Dr. Zexthera observed the humans through the observation deck's reinforced transparent aluminum, her compound eyes tracking every movement with scientific precision. The lead human, identified as Captain Chen, moved with a fluid economy of motion that spoke of perfect physical conditioning. More unsettling, she seemed to be unconsciously scanning her environment even while maintaining a friendly diplomatic demeanor. "Notice how they distribute their weight," Dr. Velnox whispered, his serpentine form coiled tightly with tension. "Even in a diplomatic setting, they're maintaining combat-ready postures." "It could be paranoia on our part," Dr. Zexthera replied, though her tone suggested she didn't believe her own words. "After our discoveries yesterday, we might be seeing threats where none exist." The second human, Dr. James Rodriguez, carried what appeared to be a simple diplomatic case. According to the manifest, it contained various cultural artifacts and food samples that humanity wanted to share with the galactic community. The irony wasn't lost on either observer that humans wanted to share their poison-based cuisine with other species. Commander Elena Vasquez, the delegation's military advisor, had been included at the Galactic Council's request to discuss potential human contributions to galactic security. Her presence seemed almost casual, but both alien scientists noticed how her eyes never stopped moving and how she unconsciously positioned herself to have clear sightlines to all exits. "The preliminary scans are complete," Dr. Zexthera announced, manipulating her interface to display the results. "Their muscle density readings are even higher than our laboratory analysis suggested. Captain Chen shows bone density measurements that exceed our equipment's normal parameters. What about their cardiovascular systems? Extraordinary. Their hearts are proportionally larger than any species of comparable size, and their lung capacity suggests they could function effectively in atmospheric conditions that would suffocate most galactic citizens." Dr. Velnox's scales rippled with unease as he reviewed the data. "Zexthera, look at their thermal regulation systems. According to these scans, they can maintain core body temperature across a range that spans nearly 40 degrees. Most species have a tolerance range of less than 10 degrees. That explains how they survived on their planet's extreme climate variations," Dr. Zexthera observed. "But it also means they could potentially operate in environments that would kill most galactic species within minutes." Through the observation window, they watched as the human delegation was greeted by Ambassador Telvar, a dignified representative from the crystalline quartz Imperium. The ambassador's welcoming speech was translated through universal communicators, allowing the humans to respond appropriately to galactic diplomatic protocols. Captain Chen's response was both gracious and confident. "We're honored to join the galactic community and look forward to sharing our culture and learning from yours. Humanity has always believed that diversity creates strength, and we're eager to contribute whatever we can to the greater good." Dr. Zextheron noticed something in the human's voice patterns that her analysis equipment flagged as interesting. "Are you detecting the same thing I am? The vocal stress indicators?" Dr. Velnox confirmed. "They're showing absolutely no signs of intimidation or anxiety. They're in an alien environment, surrounded by species they've never encountered before, and their stress hormones are actually lower than baseline levels. Either they have incredible emotional control, or they're so confident in their abilities that nothing here represents a genuine threat to them." The cultural exchange began in the ship's main conference room. Dr. Rodriguez opened his diplomatic case and began sharing various human artifacts with the assembled researchers and diplomats. The first item was a bottle of something called hot sauce, which he explained was a popular human condiment. "This is made from concentrated capsaicin extract, Dr." Rodriguez explained cheerfully, apparently unaware of the alarm this statement caused among the non-human observers. "It's one of our milder varieties. We thought you might be interested in the molecular structure." Ambassador Telvar's crystalline structure actually flickered with concern as the translation reached him. "You're saying this substance contains concentrated pain-inducing compounds, and humans consume it voluntarily?" "Oh yes," Captain Chen added with a smile. "James here is actually known for preferring much spicier foods. Show them the Carolina Reaper samples." Dr. Rodriguez produced another container, this one sealed with multiple warning labels that the universal translator rendered as extreme hazard and potential biological weapon. The fact that he handled it with casual familiarity sent visible shockwaves through the assembled alien diplomats. Dr. Zextheron's mandibles clicked frantically as she recorded the proceedings. "They're treating weapons-grade capsaicin like a party favor. And look at their physiological responses: no elevated stress, no defensive posturing. They genuinely see this as normal." Commander Vasquez contributed the next item, a flask containing what she described as premium vodka. She explained that it was a traditional human beverage often shared during celebrations and diplomatic functions. "The alcohol content is approximately 40% by volume," she noted casually. "This particular batch is from my family's distillery in Russia. We've been perfecting the process for over 200 years." The silence that greeted this announcement was profound. Ambassador Telvar's crystalline form actually dimmed as he processed the implications. "Commander, are you suggesting that humans have been deliberately producing and consuming cellular toxins for centuries?" "Millennia, actually," Captain Chun corrected cheerfully. "Archaeological evidence suggests humans have been producing alcoholic beverages for over 10,000 years. It's deeply integrated into our cultural and social development." Dr. Velnox watched in fascination as the alien diplomats struggled to process this information. Several species known for their aggressive territorial behavior were actually backing away from the humans, not from fear, but from a growing realization that they might be dealing with something far beyond their understanding. "There's more," Dr. Rodriguez continued, apparently oblivious to the growing tension in the room. He produced samples of what he described as extreme sports equipment items designed for humans who sought out dangerous activities for entertainment. The equipment included climbing gear for scaling vertical rock faces, diving equipment for exploring underwater environments that would crush most species, and protective gear for activities called skydiving and base jumping, where humans would deliberately throw themselves from great heights for pleasure. These activities served no survival purpose, Captain Chen explained when asked about their significance. "Humans engage in them because they find the challenge and risk enjoyable. It helps us stay physically and mentally sharp." Dr. Zextheron's forearms were working frantically to record and analyze everything. "They're describing recreational activities that most species would classify as elaborate suicide attempts. And they're doing it with evident pride and enthusiasm. Look at the other delegates' reactions," Dr. Velnox observed. The Altarian representative just excused himself. I think he's in shock. Indeed, several of the non-human delegates were finding excuses to leave the conference room. The Etherian ambassador, known for his species' advanced intellect and emotional stability, was visibly struggling to maintain diplomatic composure. Perhaps, Ambassador Telvar ventured carefully, you could tell us about some of humanity's gentler recreational activities? Captain Chen's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. Oh, you'd probably find our competitive sports interesting. Dr. Rodriguez, do you have the footage from the Olympics? A holographic display activated to show various human sporting events. The assembled aliens watched in stunned silence as humans engaged in activities that involved deliberate physical collision, extreme exertion to the point of collapse, and competitions that pushed their bodies to the absolute limits of endurance. This is football, Dr. Rodriguez explained as they watched armored humans collide at high speed. And this is ice hockey, where players use bladed boots to move across frozen surfaces while attempting to control a small projectile using wooden sticks. Physical contact is not only allowed but expected. And this is boxing, Commander Vasquez added as the display showed two humans deliberately striking each other repeatedly. The objective is to render your opponent unconscious through systematic application of physical trauma. Dr. Zexthera noticed that her recording equipment was starting to overload from the sheer volume of data being processed. Velnox, they're describing their entertainment activities, and every single one would be classified as assault or attempted murder by galactic law. And they're presenting it as normal social behavior, Dr. Velnox replied, his coils tightening with anxiety. Look at how they discuss it. There's no shame, no recognition that these activities are unusual. To them, deliberately causing and receiving physical trauma is a standard part of social development. The presentation continued with examples of human endurance events. Marathons where humans ran distances that would exhaust most species' transportation vehicles. Ironman competitions that combine swimming, cycling, and running in sequences that would constitute torture for most galactic species. Ultramarathons that covered distances most species would consider impossible to traverse on foot. The current human endurance record, Captain Chen noted proudly, is held by a man who ran continuously for over 11 days, covering nearly 560 miles. He did it for charity and personal satisfaction. Ambassador Telvar's crystalline structure was now flickering so rapidly it was causing optical interference with the recording equipment. Captain Chen, when you say ran continuously, do you mean he stopped to rest? Oh no, he kept running. He would eat and drink while maintaining forward motion and only stopped for brief bathroom breaks. Sleep deprivation is just part of the challenge for extreme endurance events. The remaining delegates exchanged glances that spoke volumes about their growing unease. These humans weren't just describing superhuman physical capabilities, they were describing a mindset that treated physical and mental torture as recreational activities. Commander Vasquez contributed information about human military training, apparently unaware that she was describing preparation regimens that exceeded the combat capabilities of most galactic species' elite forces. Basic human soldiers underwent conditioning that would qualify them as superhuman warriors by galactic standards. Our special forces training involves extended periods in hostile environments, resistance to interrogation, and combat effectiveness while severely injured or exhausted, she explained matter-of-factly. We've found that extreme stress inoculation creates more adaptable soldiers. Dr. Zexthera realized that her initial assessment had been completely inadequate. Velnox, we weren't studying a species with unusual dietary habits. We were studying a species of beings so perfectly adapted to an impossible world that they've evolved beyond anything else in the galaxy. And now they want to join galactic civilization, Dr. Velnox added grimly. The question is no longer whether humans are dangerous. The question is whether the rest of the galaxy can survive their presence. As if to punctuate his concern, Captain Chen concluded the presentation by mentioning that the samples they'd shared represented the mild end of human culture, and that they had deliberately chosen items that wouldn't be too shocking for first contact situations. The implications of that statement hung in the air like a weapon waiting to be deployed. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in the highest security chamber aboard the diplomatic station Nexus Prime. Representatives from 47 different species had gathered within 6 hours of receiving Dr. Zexthera and Dr. Velnox's preliminary report, their faces showing levels of concern typically reserved for galaxy-threatening crises. High Counselor Threnik of the Valdorian Empire called the session to order with an authority that had guided galactic politics for over 3 centuries. His metallic exoskeleton gleamed under the chamber's lights as he addressed the assembled representatives. Fellow beings of the galaxy, his translated voice carried a weight that made even the most powerful representatives pay attention. We have called this emergency session to address the implications of recent discoveries regarding the human species. Dr. Zexthera, please present your findings. Dr. Zexthera's forearms trembled slightly as she activated the holographic display system. The data that materialized in the center of the chamber caused immediate stirrings of unease among the assembled delegates. Comparative physiological charts showed humans operating far beyond what galactic science considered possible for organic beings. Honored delegates, our research has revealed that humanity represents an unprecedented evolutionary development. They have not merely adapted to survive in hostile conditions, they have evolved to thrive in conditions that would prove lethal to virtually every other known species. Counselor Merthak of the Aquatic Collective raised a webbed appendage. His species, known for their advanced biological sciences, had particular authority when discussing evolutionary matters. Dr. Zexthera, these readings suggest humans possess capabilities that violate several established principles of galactic biology. Are you certain your equipment was functioning correctly? We ran the analysis 17 times using 3 different scanning systems, Dr. Velnox interjected, his serpentine form shifting nervously. Every result confirmed our initial findings. Furthermore, direct observation of the human delegation corroborated the data. The Etherian representative, known for his species' advanced intellect, leaned forward with obvious interest. What specific capabilities are we discussing? Dr. Zexthera manipulated the display to show the consumption analysis. Humans routinely consume substances that would be classified as biological weapons by galactic standards. Capsaicin concentrations that would cause cellular damage in most species are treated as flavor enhancers. Alcohol levels that would prove fatal are consumed for social bonding. A collective intake of breath echoed through the chamber. Counselor Velvar of the Crystalline Imperium, whose species was particularly sensitive to chemical toxins, actually backed away from the display. Furthermore, Dr. Velnox continued, they engage in recreational activities that exceed the survival capabilities of most species' military forces. Physical competitions that would constitute torture by galactic standards are considered entertainment. The display showed footage from the human cultural exchange, including their demonstrations of mild sporting activities. The assembled delegates watched in stunned silence as humans deliberately collided with each other at high speed, engaged in systematic physical combat for entertainment, and pushed their bodies to extremes that would require medical intervention for most species. High Counselor Threnik's metallic features reflected the shifting lights of the display. What are your conclusions, Dr. Zexthera? Honored Counselor, humans appear to have evolved as apex predators on a world so hostile that survival required capabilities far exceeding anything else we've encountered. They haven't just adapted to their environment, they've become something beyond our current understanding of biological limitations. Counselor ZY Carr of the Insectoid Confederation clicked mandibles in agitation. Are you suggesting they represent a threat to galactic security? Not intentionally, Dr. Velnox replied carefully. But, consider the implications. They treat deadly toxins as recreational substances. They engage in activities that would kill most of us as forms of entertainment. They've survived on a world that would be classified as a death world by our standards, yet they've developed space travel and seek peaceful contact. Representative Quentar of the Gaseous Collective, whose species existed as sentient energy within specialized containment suits, voiced what many were thinking. If these beings are so far beyond our capabilities, why do they seek to join our community? What do they need from us? Dr. Zexthera had anticipated this question. According to their cultural data, humans value diversity and cooperation. They appear to genuinely believe that different species working together create stronger communities than any individual group working alone. Or, Counselor Merthak interjected grimly, they've studied our capabilities and determined that diplomatic incorporation would be more efficient than direct conquest. The chamber fell into an uncomfortable silence as this possibility was contemplated. Humans possessed physical capabilities that exceeded most species' military forces, yet they approached the galaxy seeking friendship and cooperation. The contradiction was deeply unsettling. There's something else, Dr. Velnox added reluctantly. Our analysis suggests that what we observed represents normal human civilian capabilities. Military humans undergo conditioning that exceeds even these baselines. High Counselor Thrennick's exoskeleton actually creaked as he processed this information. Are you telling us that an average human possesses capabilities exceeding our elite forces? Based on our data, yes. And their elite forces. Dr. Zexthera's voice trailed off as she manipulated the display to show human military training footage. They undergo preparation that would be classified as extreme torture by galactic conventions, yet they consider it routine conditioning. The footage showed human soldiers operating in conditions that would incapacitate most species within minutes. Extreme temperatures, physical exhaustion beyond galactic measurement scales, and psychological stress that would cause permanent mental damage in other beings. The humans not only survived these conditions but functioned effectively as combat units. Counselor Velvar's crystalline structure dimmed with concern. High Counselor, if these beings are so far beyond our capabilities, how do we proceed? Standard diplomatic protocols assume rough equivalency between species. That's not the most disturbing aspect, Dr. Velnox continued. During our cultural exchange, the human delegation specifically mentioned that they had chosen mild examples to avoid shocking us. What we observed represents the restrained end of human capabilities. This revelation sent visible shockwaves through the chamber. Several representatives began urgent consultations with their aides, while others activated private communication channels to alert their home governments. Representative Haxlar of the nomadic fleets, whose people had experience with dangerous space phenomena, asked the question that was troubling everyone. Do we have any indication of human intentions? Are they planning expansion into galactic territory? Their cultural analysis suggests they're primarily interested in exploration and scientific exchange, Dr. Zexthera replied. But their expansion patterns within their own star system show remarkable efficiency. They've established permanent colonies on worlds that would kill most of us within hours. Including their own moon, Dr. Velnox added. Which has no atmosphere, extreme temperature variations, and radiation levels that would prove fatal to most galactic species. They've been operating there for decades and consider it routine. The implications were staggering. Humans had casually established colonies in conditions that represented some of the most hostile environments imaginable, treating them as routine expansion projects rather than extreme survival challenges. High Counselor Thrennick activated his personal communication array, speaking in urgent, encrypted bursts to representatives from the galaxy's major military powers. The conversation lasted several minutes while the rest of the chamber waited in tense silence. Fellow delegates, he finally announced, we face an unprecedented situation. We have encountered a species whose basic capabilities exceed our military forces, yet they approach us seeking peaceful cooperation. The contradiction presents unique challenges. Counselor Merthak voiced what many were thinking. High Counselor, could this be an elaborate deception? Perhaps they're deliberately demonstrating overwhelming capabilities to intimidate us into surrender without conflict. That possibility has been considered, the High Counselor replied. However, analysis of their cultural broadcasts suggests these demonstrations represent normal civilian behavior rather than military posturing. Dr. Zexthera added to the growing unease. Our observations suggest they weren't trying to impress or intimidate us. They were genuinely attempting to share their culture in what they considered a gentle, non-threatening manner. The fact that humans considered weapons-grade toxins and extreme physical trauma to be gentle cultural sharing added another layer of concern to the proceedings. There's one more thing, Dr. Velnox announced, his scales rippling with obvious reluctance to continue. During our analysis, we discovered references to human entertainment that we haven't fully investigated. Apparently, they engage in activities called extreme sports that make their normal recreational activities look tame. What could possibly exceed what we've already observed? Counselor ZY demanded. Activities that involve deliberately placing themselves in situations of extreme mortal danger for the psychological stimulation, Dr. Zexthera explained. Jumping from aircraft without immediately deploying parachutes, scaling vertical cliff faces with minimal safety equipment, exploring underwater cave systems that could trap them permanently. And they do this for entertainment? Representative Quentar asked incredulously. According to their cultural data, yes. They describe the experience as thrilling and seek out increasingly dangerous challenges as they become accustomed to existing ones. The chamber erupted in concerned discussions as delegates tried to process the implications of a species that treated mortal danger as recreational stimulation. The psychological profile this suggested was unlike anything in galactic records. High Counselor Thrennick called for order as the discussions threatened to become chaotic. Fellow delegates, we must decide how to proceed. We have three options before us: welcome humanity into the galactic community despite our concerns, attempt to contain them within their current system, or prepare for the possibility that they represent an existential threat. The weight of this decision settled over the chamber like a physical presence. For the first time in galactic history, they were dealing with a species whose capabilities so far exceeded their own that traditional diplomatic approaches might prove inadequate. I propose we observe them more closely, Counselor Merthak suggested. Send covert monitoring missions to their system and gather more comprehensive data about their true capabilities and intentions. And if they detect our surveillance? Counselor Veldar asked. Dr. Zexthera's compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights as she delivered the final, most unsettling piece of information. Honored delegates, based on our analysis of their technological capabilities and their casual references to their detection systems, it's unlikely we could observe them without their knowledge. If they haven't already detected our current monitoring, it's probably because they're choosing to ignore it. The implication hung in the air like a weapon. Humanity might already know they were being watched and studied, and their continued friendly approach suggested either remarkable restraint or confidence so absolute that they viewed galactic civilization as completely non-threatening. Neither possibility was comforting. Commander Kethvar of the Galactic Defense Force stood before the tactical display aboard the stealth reconnaissance vessel Shadow's Edge, watching long-range scans of the human star system with growing unease. His cybernetic implants, normally a source of pride for his enhanced analytical capabilities, now felt inadequate as they struggled to process the data his sensors were collecting. Status report, he commanded his mixed-species crew, though his voice carried none of his usual confidence. Lieutenant Zarthak, a member of the silicon-based quartzoid species, manipulated his crystal interface with mechanical precision. Commander, we've completed preliminary scans of the human home system. The results are unprecedented. Commander Kethvar had served in the Galactic Defense Force for 47 standard years, rising through the ranks by his ability to assess and counter potential threats. Nothing in his extensive experience had prepared him for what he was observing. Show me their defensive installations, he ordered. The tactical display illuminated with data points representing human military assets throughout their solar system. Instead of the centralized defense platforms typical of most spacefaring species, the humans had established defensive positions on nearly every significant celestial body in their system. They've militarized their moon, reported Ensign Yilvera, her insectoid form rigid with disbelief. But, Commander, they're not just using it as a weapons platform. They've established permanent civilian colonies alongside military installations. Civilians living in a combat zone? Commander Kethvar's cybernetic eye focused on the data streams. That makes no tactical sense. Sir, Lieutenant Zarthak interjected, according to our analysis, humans don't consider their moon a combat zone. To them, it's simply another place to live. The environmental conditions that would make it uninhabitable for most species appear to be irrelevant to them. The tactical display zoomed in on the human lunar installations. What they showed defied military logic. Humans had established what appeared to be thriving communities in conditions that would require the most advanced life support systems known to galactic science, yet their installations seemed remarkably simple and efficient. What about their asteroid belt operations? Commander Kethvar asked, though he was beginning to suspect he wouldn't like the answer. Even more impressive, sir. They've established mining and manufacturing facilities throughout their asteroid belt. Mobile installations that can relocate as needed, all operated by human crews working in conditions that would be instantly fatal to most species. Ensign Yilvera added disturbing details. Commander, they're not using automated systems like every other species. Humans are personally operating equipment in hard vacuum, exposed to radiation levels that would kill most of us even with protective gear. Commander Kethvar studied the tactical readouts with growing alarm. Standard galactic military doctrine assumed that space operations required extensive automation and remote control to protect valuable personnel from hostile environments. Humans appeared to operate on the principle that their personnel were so durable they could work directly in conditions that would destroy most military equipment. What are their actual military capabilities? He asked, though he was beginning to fear the answer. Lieutenant Zarthok's crystalline structure flickered with uncertainty. Sir, that's where our analysis becomes problematic. We can identify installations that appear to be military in nature, but we can't distinguish between their civilian and military capabilities. Explain. Their civilian spacecraft demonstrate capabilities that exceed most military vessels in the galactic fleet. Their industrial installations on hostile worlds represent engineering achievements that surpass our best military construction projects. Their routine civilian activities appear to require capabilities that we would classify as superhuman. The implications were staggering. The Galactic Defense Force had built its strategic assessments on the assumption that military capabilities always exceeded civilian ones. If human civilians possessed capabilities exceeding galactic military forces, then their actual military might be beyond calculation. Show me their fleet strength, Commander Kethvar ordered. The display shifted to show human spacecraft moving throughout their system. What appeared were vessels that seemed almost primitive compared to galactic technology, yet moved with efficiency and speed that suggested capabilities far exceeding their apparent design limitations. Sir, Ensign Yilvera reported nervously, their ships appear to be designed around the assumption that human crews can withstand accelerations and environmental stresses that would be fatal to most species. They're achieving performance levels that our ships couldn't match without killing their crews. Their largest vessels appear to be exploration and colonization ships, Lieutenant Zarthok added. But, sir, these ships are traveling to destinations that would be classified as uninhabitable death worlds by galactic standards. And they're doing it for territorial expansion, not military conquest. Commander Kethvar realized that his fundamental assumptions about space combat were being challenged. Galactic military doctrine was based on technological superiority compensating for biological limitations. Humans appeared to have evolved beyond those limitations, making their technology more effective than it should theoretically be possible. What about their weapons technology? That's where things become truly disturbing, sir, Lieutenant Zarthok replied. We can identify some obvious weapons systems, but many of their tools appear to serve dual purposes. Their mining equipment could function as devastating weapons. Their construction tools could breach most galactic defensive systems. And, sir, Ensign Yilvera added grimly, their routine industrial processes generate energy outputs that we would classify as weapons-grade. They appear to have the industrial capacity to convert their entire civilization to military production within months if necessary. Commander Kethvar studied the data streams, his cybernetic implants working overtime to process the strategic implications. Humans possessed the ability to rapidly militarize their entire society using industrial capabilities that already exceeded most galactic military production. Have they detected our presence? The question hung in the air for a long moment before Lieutenant Zarthok responded. Sir, that's impossible to determine. Our stealth technology should be undetectable by their apparent tech level, but, sir, their detection networks appear to be distributed throughout their system in patterns we don't fully understand. They might have capabilities we haven't recognized, or they might be choosing to ignore us. The possibility that humans were aware of galactic surveillance and simply didn't consider it threatening was more unsettling than the alternative. It suggested a level of confidence that bordered on complete indifference to outside military threats.
Commander, Ensign Yilvera announced suddenly, we're receiving a transmission from the human home world. It's being broadcast on frequencies we use for first contact protocols. Put it through. The holographic display activated to show a human female in what appeared to be a civilian setting. Her demeanor was friendly but somehow unsettling in its complete lack of concern about addressing unknown alien observers. Greetings to our galactic neighbors, the human said cheerfully. This is Dr. Amanda Foster from Earth's Contact Protocol Division. We've detected several monitoring vessels in our system and wanted to extend a formal invitation for direct contact. We understand that first encounters can be cautious affairs, so please don't feel obligated to decloak immediately. However, if you'd like to exchange information or cultural materials, we're very interested in meeting you. The transmission ended, leaving the crew of the Shadow's Edge in stunned silence.
Sir, Lieutenant Zarthok whispered, they detected us. Our stealth technology is supposed to be invisible to species at their technological level.
And they're treating it like a social opportunity, Ensign Yilvera added with obvious disbelief.
They detected unknown alien vessels conducting surveillance and their response is to offer cultural exchange.
Commander Kethvar realized that his mission parameters had just become meaningless.
He had been sent to conduct covert observation of a potentially dangerous species. Instead, he had discovered beings who detected his presence easily and responded with friendly invitations to dialogue. Sir, Lieutenant Zarthok announced, we're receiving additional transmissions from human facilities throughout the system. They appear to be offering tours of their installations to any interested observers.
Tours?
Yes, sir. They're broadcasting information about their lunar colonies, asteroid mining operations, and deep space exploration projects. They seem genuinely excited about the possibility of showing their achievements to alien visitors. The tactical situation had shifted into something completely outside military protocol. Humans had detected covert surveillance operations and responded not with defensive measures or military alerts, but with enthusiasm about sharing their civilization with unknown aliens.
Commander, Ensign Yilvera reported, I'm also detecting movement from their outer system installations. Several ships are adjusting course toward our position, but their approach vectors suggest escort formation rather than attack patterns. They're coming to meet us?
Sir, based on their movement patterns, they appear to be organizing a welcoming committee.
Commander Kethvar felt his cybernetic systems struggling to process a situation that fell completely outside established military protocols.
His mission had been to observe and assess potential threats. Instead, he was being welcomed by beings who treated the arrival of unknown alien surveillance vessels as an opportunity for interspecies friendship. Sir, Lieutenant Zarthok announced, the approaching human vessels are transmitting engineering specifications and cultural databases. They appear to be preparing welcome packages for different possible species types.
They're assuming we might have different environmental requirements, Ensign Yilvera added, and they're offering to accommodate whatever needs we might have.
The psychological profile this suggested was completely unprecedented in galactic records. Humans had detected unknown military surveillance and responded with immediate offers of hospitality and cultural exchange. Either they possessed such overwhelming confidence in their capabilities that they considered alien surveillance completely non-threatening, or they were so genuinely friendly that they treated potential enemies as potential friends.
Both possibilities represented challenges that military doctrine had never anticipated.
Commander, Lieutenant Zarthok announced quietly, I'm receiving priority communications from Galactic Command. They want immediate reports on our observations.
Commander Kethvar realized he faced an impossible reporting situation.
He had been sent to assess human military capabilities and had discovered that such assessments were meaningless. Humans operated according to principles that made traditional threat analysis irrelevant. Prepare a full data burst to Galactic Command, he ordered. Include all sensor readings, tactical analysis, and these communications from human installations.
Sir, Ensign Yilvera asked nervously, should we respond to the human invitation?
Commander Kethvar looked at his tactical displays showing human ships approaching in escort formation, broadcasting cultural databases and environmental accommodation offers. His 47 years of military experience provided no guidance for dealing with potential enemies who responded to surveillance with friendship.
Open a channel, he decided. Let's find out what species could evolve such absolute confidence in their own survival that they treat unknown military threats as social opportunities.
As the communication channel activated, Commander Kethvar realized that his mission had shifted from threat assessment to first contact. He was about to become the first galactic military officer to directly communicate with a species that might have evolved beyond the need for traditional concepts of military threat and defense.
The implications would reshape galactic strategic thinking forever.
Admiral Vexthorak of the Saurian hegemony stood before the largest military council ever assembled in galactic history, his reptilian features reflecting the gravity of decisions that would reshape interstellar civilization. Representatives from every major military power had gathered aboard the fortress station Iron Nexus, their collective fleets forming the largest battle formation the galaxy had ever seen. Fellow commanders, his voice carried across the war chamber with the authority of one who had never known defeat, we face a situation unprecedented in galactic history. Intelligence reports confirm that humanity represents capabilities so far beyond our understanding that traditional military doctrine has become meaningless. The holographic displays surrounding the chamber showed the accumulated data from dozens of surveillance missions, cultural exchanges, and direct observations. Every piece of information painted the same picture: humanity had evolved into something that defied every principle of galactic biology and military science. General Korvash of the Machine Collective, his cybernetic form gleaming under the chamber's lights, activated his tactical interface.
Admiral, my analysis confirms the biological impossibility of human capabilities.
They operate in environmental conditions that would destroy our most advanced equipment while maintaining civilian population centers. Moreover, added Fleet Commander Ythera of the Crystalline Imperium, her translucent form refracting the display lights into prismatic patterns, their industrial capacity suggests they could convert their entire civilization to military production within planetary rotations if necessary.
Admiral Vexthorak studied the strategic assessments with growing unease.
43 separate military intelligence agencies had reached identical conclusions: humanity possessed capabilities that exceeded the combined military might of galactic civilization, yet they continued to approach other species with offers of friendship and cooperation. The psychological analysis is equally disturbing, reported Commodore Thexnull of the Voidwalkers, his gaseous form contained within specialized environmental armor.
Humans treat mortal danger as recreational activity. They consume biological warfare agents for pleasure. They engage in systematic physical trauma as social bonding. And they're completely sincere in their offers of peaceful cooperation, General Korvash added grimly.
Our deep analysis of human cultural transmission shows no deception, no hidden military objectives.
They genuinely believe that diverse species working together creates stronger communities. The implications were staggering.
Humanity could potentially conquer galactic civilization with minimal effort, yet they actively sought to join it as cooperative members. The contradiction challenged every principle of military strategy and political science.
What are our options? Admiral Vexthorak asked the question that had brought them all together. Fleet Commander Ythera accessed her strategic databases.
Our primary analysis suggests three possible approaches: attempt to contain humanity within their current system, prepare for defensive war against inevitable expansion, or accept them as allies despite the fundamental power imbalance. Containment appears impossible, General Korvash interjected.
Human technological progression suggests they'll achieve faster than light travel within decades, possibly years.
Their expansion patterns show they colonize worlds we would consider uninhabitable, meaning they could establish footholds throughout the galaxy without competing for habitable territory.
Commodore Thexnull's environmental suit flickered with concern patterns. Defensive war may be equally impossible.
Humans operate effectively in environments that would incapacitate our forces. Their civilian capabilities exceed our military ones. Our weapons might prove ineffective against beings who treat cellular toxins as recreational substances. The strategic reality was becoming clear. Traditional military solutions were meaningless against a species that had evolved beyond conventional limitations. Humanity could expand throughout the galaxy regardless of galactic opposition, yet they sought cooperation instead of conquest. There's something else, Admiral Vex-Thorak announced, accessing classified intelligence reports. Our xenobiologists have completed their analysis of human evolutionary patterns.
The results suggest that humanity's current capabilities represent their baseline, not their peak potential.
The chamber fell into stunned silence as this information was processed.
Explain, Fleet Commander Ythera demanded.
Human evolution occurred on a world so hostile that survival required continuous adaptation to increasingly dangerous conditions. Their development patterns suggest they'll continue evolving to meet whatever challenges they encounter. Contact with galactic civilization might actually accelerate their development rather than limit it. General Corvash's cybernetic systems processed this data with visible strain.
Admiral, are you suggesting that interaction with us could make them even more capable than they already are? Our analysis indicates that humans treat challenges as opportunities for growth.
Exposure to galactic technology, diverse environments, and new survival scenarios might trigger adaptive responses that exceed even their current impossible capabilities. The psychological profile this suggested was unlike anything in galactic records. Most species developed to a stable equilibrium with their environment. Humans appeared to have evolved a perpetual adaptation mechanism that treated new challenges as opportunities for enhancement rather than threats to survival.
What about their intentions? Commodore Thexnol asked.
Could their peaceful approach be a long-term strategy for galactic domination?
Our cultural analysis suggests otherwise, Admiral Vex-Thorak replied. Humans appear to genuinely value diversity and cooperation. Their historical patterns show they often work harder to preserve differences than to eliminate them. Fleet Commander Ythera's crystalline form dimmed with confusion.
You're describing beings capable of conquering the galaxy who actively choose to preserve the independence of species they could easily dominate. And who treat potential enemies as potential friends, General Corvash added. When we attempted covert surveillance, they responded with invitations for cultural exchange. The strategic implications were reshaping military thinking in real time. Humanity possessed the capability for total galactic domination but demonstrated clear preference for cooperative coexistence. They could eliminate galactic civilization as a threat but chose to join it as partners.
Admiral, Fleet Commander Ythera announced, I'm receiving priority transmissions from the Galactic Council. They're requesting immediate military assessment for emergency policy decisions. What's their timeline? Human delegations have requested formal admission to the Galactic Federation.
The Council must decide within the next planetary cycle whether to approve membership for a species that could potentially control the galaxy's future.
Admiral Vex-Thorak realized that military assessment had become meaningless.
Traditional threat analysis assumed that superior capability led to aggressive expansion. Humans had demonstrated superior capability and chosen cooperative integration instead.
Prepare our report, he decided. Our recommendation is immediate acceptance of human membership with full alliance protocols.
The chamber erupted in surprised discussions. General Corvash's cybernetic systems flickered with processing strain.
Admiral, you're recommending alliance with beings who could conquer us? I'm recommending alliance with beings who could conquer us but choose not to, Admiral Vex_Thorak clarified. Commodore, what are the strategic implications of rejecting human membership? Commodore Thexnol accessed his analytical databases. Rejection would likely result in independent human expansion throughout the galaxy.
They would establish colonies and develop faster than light travel without galactic oversight.
Within centuries, they could control interstellar civilization through sheer capability rather than political authority. And acceptance? Acceptance integrates them into galactic governance structures where their capabilities serve collective interests rather than independent expansion.
They would be bound by galactic law and cooperative decision-making processes.
Fleet Commander Ythera's form brightened as the implications became clear.
Admiral, you're suggesting that acceptance gives us more influence over human development than rejection.
More than that.
I'm suggesting that humans genuinely want to be part of a diverse galactic community. Their psychological profiles indicate they would find isolated dominance less satisfying than cooperative achievement. General Corvash processed this assessment through multiple analytical frameworks. You're recommending that we ally with them because they're too powerful to oppose and too cooperative to fear.
I'm recommending that we recognize an unprecedented opportunity, Admiral Vexthorak clarified. Humanity offers capabilities that could solve galactic challenges that have persisted for millennia. Environmental colonization, hostile territory exploration, extreme engineering projects that have been impossible due to biological limitations. The strategic vision was becoming clear. Humanity didn't represent a threat to galactic civilization, they represented an opportunity to transcend limitations that had constrained galactic development for centuries. Consider the possibilities, Admiral Vexthorak continued. Human capabilities could enable galactic expansion into regions currently considered uninhabitable. Their industrial efficiency could revolutionize resource extraction and manufacturing. Their psychological resilience could enable exploration of dangers that have been prohibitive. And their cooperative instincts mean they would share these benefits rather than monopolize them, Commodore Thexnell added thoughtfully. Fleet Commander Ythera accessed the cultural databases again. Admiral, there's something else. Human historical patterns show they actively work to elevate their partners. Species that ally with humans tend to exceed their previous capabilities through technological sharing and cooperative development. They make their allies stronger rather than weaker, General Corvash confirmed. Our analysis shows human partnerships result in enhancement rather than exploitation. Admiral Vexthorak realized they had discovered something unique in galactic history. A species with overwhelming capability that used that power to strengthen others rather than dominate them. Humanity offered partnership that enhanced rather than diminished their allies. Our recommendation is unanimous, he announced. Immediate acceptance of human membership with full military alliance protocols. Furthermore, we recommend establishing joint development projects that leverage human capabilities for galactic benefit. What about the risks? Fleet Commander Ythera asked. The greatest risk is rejection, Admiral Vexthorak replied. Humans will develop faster than light travel with or without our cooperation. They'll establish interstellar civilization whether we participate or not. Our choice is whether that development includes us as partners or proceeds without us as irrelevant. The council chamber fell silent as the implications settled. Humanity represented the most significant development in galactic history, offering opportunities and challenges that transcended traditional strategic thinking. Admiral, General Corvash announced, my systems confirm your analysis. Rejection of human partnership would result in galactic irrelevance within centuries. Acceptance offers unprecedented opportunities for collective advancement. Then, we're agreed, Admiral Vexthorak concluded. Prepare the transmission to the Galactic Council. Our unanimous recommendation is immediate human integration with full alliance status. As the military council prepared their historic recommendation, none of them realized that their deliberations were being monitored by human intelligence systems that had detected galactic surveillance from the beginning. Humanity had known about galactic civilization's concerns and had patiently waited for their potential allies to recognize the opportunities that cooperation could provide. Captain Sarachin smiled as she reviewed the military council's conclusions from her position aboard the exploration vessel New Horizons. Humanity's patient approach to galactic contact had succeeded. They had demonstrated their capabilities, maintained their peaceful intentions, and allowed galactic civilization to reach its own conclusions about the benefits of cooperation. Commander Rodriguez, she announced to her first officer, transmit our acceptance of alliance protocols to the Galactic Council. Let them know that humanity looks forward to working together to explore the galaxy's potential. As the transmission launched toward Iron Nexus, Captain Chen reflected on how different species approached the same situation. Galactic civilization had seen overwhelming capability and assumed threat. Humanity had seen diverse species with unique capabilities and recognized opportunity. The future would prove which approach better served galactic development. But Captain Chen was confident that cooperation would achieve more than conquest ever could. After all, humans had learned long ago that the greatest strength came not from individual capability,
but from diverse groups working together toward common goals. The galaxy was about to discover what humans had always known: diversity was not a weakness to be eliminated, but a strength to be cultivated. And, with human capabilities supporting galactic cooperation, there were no limits to what they could achieve together.